What's up, guys? I'm back today. Gonna get started on this build, or rebuild rather, as it were. I started the other day. I started cutting some wood, for my box. I figure I'll spare you guys the boredom of watching me cut wood. But yeah, so this is what I'm gonna do today. This is my old box, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that with those 10-inch speakers that I got, those Orion XPM 1054 MBF, what is a mouthful. The only place that I can think to fit them in here is up here in this area, right in here. And so what I've done then is I have designed a new box. It's the same shape as a wedge box. The subwoofers will fit the same inside of the new box. It'll be very similar in that respect. The only difference is going to be is that the box is going to come up, and instead of coming to a point like this, I've shortened the top of it and made a ledge like that, and so that this part of the box will be gone, and I will have expanded the box in length to compensate for the cubic inches that I lost in doing that. And that way what I'll end up with is a shelf here that the 10-inch speakers can sit on top of. I'll insulate in between the boxes so that there's no vibration in between them. And so I'll have a subwoofer enclosure here, and then I'll have the 10s up here above it. Of course, that's going to really reduce my vision out of the back glass, but with this camper top on the truck, it's not really going to be a huge deal, so it won't matter that much anyway. Those 6.5, the Neo 6.5s will go back in this right here, where these scars are. And yeah, so no real change there. I have yet to redesign or redo this console. I wanted to do it out of cabinet grade wood, and I have yet to do that, and that's mostly, and I'm really glad that I haven't done that yet, because as much as I have changed these enclosures and whatnot, man, every time I've changed the enclosure I've had to modify the console, and so I'm glad I haven't done that yet. But hopefully after getting this installed, getting these new drivers installed, and then I will redo the console, and then it should all be right. And then lastly, hopefully, I'll build my my lithium battery, and I've got one or two places to put the lithium battery. One of them will be in the floorboard behind the seat here, somewhere in this area. On either side. I also got option, there will be a little space here that I might be able to put it there, and of course there's always inside the console. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not really feeling inside the console anymore, because to be able to run the tweeters with this system, I'm going to have a third amp, and I have a NVX JAD 800.4 that I'm going to use to run the tweeters. Yeah. So I need 3 amps inside the console, and really, there's not going to be any room for the battery inside the console, which is initially what I wanted, but it's okay. I got plenty of space in behind the seats, and there's other places that I can put the battery. Might take a little more wire, but that's okay. I got some wire. I think it'll be all right. But yeah, so I've cut the baffles. It's going to be the same design as the other box. It's going to be triple baffled, and for the sake of sealing the enclosure, and I've got the rest of the box cut out right here. No big deal, it's nothing unusual, nothing nobody's ever seen. I got all the parts. I got the back, I got the top, I got the bottom, I got another board on the top and another on the front. So that's all the boards for that. I have the boards for the mid-bass drivers. So I've got all the boards for that, and so I got all the wood cut. I need to. I'm going to pull one of the subwoofers out of the box, and I'm going to use it so that I can set the woofer down and draw out for the surround, because they're going to be inverted, and I'll take a jigsaw and cut one of these, get it right, and then I'll use my router to cut the rest of them. I use my flush trim bit on the router and cut the rest of them, and get them right, and then we'll start gluing and screwing. So nothing really unusual there. We might stop, take a shot here and there just for content's sake, to show the progression. Or if I run into something, I might, I don't know, might show it or whatever, just again for content's sake. I did have an idea though, actually. I don't know, a wedge-shaped box, for me at least, it wasn't super easy to build. The first one wasn't really that easy to build, and so that, I've worked it out now, because, this will be my this will be my fourth wedge box, and, I've kind of worked it out now where it's real simple, and that I might sit down and show the design aspect of that, the math behind it, how that, you can figure it up and get your cubic footage correct and proper the first time, real easily, using a bit of geometry. And I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me just go ahead and do this. Yeah, it's real simple. First, you need to know your measurements. This is the inside measurement. This is the outside measurement. Okay. If you take your outside measurements, your seat, you want to put your seat in a comfortable position so that you can get your measurements, on the bottom, at the top, the height. Get these measurements in, your max measurements. Yeah. And of course you're going to have to know the shape of your driver, because you got to remember your driver's got to fit in here, and it's going to have to be able to fit, every board is going to have to be able to clear the driver. So, that took some trial and error for me, and, it's going to take trial and error for you. It's going to take you taking your driver out and setting it on a piece of wood, because they got a lot of angles here. Got angle here, 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 and here. And you got to make sure that your driver is going to be able to sit in here and clear every board, because you don't want the board touching your driver, and that's going to require you pulling your driver out, setting it down on a piece of wood, and seeing what the minimum area that you're going to need in order to clear your driver. That's what you're going to need to do. Once you have the minimum area you're going to need, and then you got the maximum area of space, then you're going to be able to sit down and design the box. The shape of it. Okay. Once you get the shape of it, then we use a little geometry. We're going to break this whole shape up into cubic inches. Yes? Alright, cubic inches. Notice how we cut off this area and made a rectangle out of it, and it was 9 by 26. And then we took this area and made a rectangle out of it. Yeah, and it was 6 by 8.5. That's the internal space. And so we multiply 6 by 8.5, and 7.5 by 18.5. We add that together, and then we're left with this tiny triangle here, and it's a perfect right angle. Yeah. And all we got to do is multiply length times width. In this case, it'll be 8.5 by 18.5, and then divide that by half, and that's going to give us our total area for that triangle. So then that we add the area of all three shapes together, and that's going to give us our total square inches. In this case, mine was 313.375. And that's the key right there, knowing that area for that shape. And now all we got to do is multiply that by your length or your depth, whichever way you want to look at that, and that will give you the total cubic inches. Now cubic foot is 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. We need to break that down to inches, so we say 12 inches times 12 inches times 12 inches, and that's going to give us 1,728 cubic inches. Alright, so that all we need to do, if you know the cubic foot that you need, so that you take that cubic footage and you multiply it by 1,728. Okay, and that's going to give you the total cubic inches that you're going to need your enclosure to be. Alright, so that now we can take that total number and divide it by the area that we have. You see what I'm saying? And that's going to give us the length of our box. That's going to give us the bare minimum length for the total area that we need. Now, of course, you need to take for bracing you know, you need to take out for the volume of the driver, you know, any other thing that's going to be inside the box that's going to take away from that total area, and you might have to extend it by however many inches that comes out to be. Yeah, and it's not that difficult. It's really simple, man. You know, it's real easy. It's real easy. It's not hard at all. And, you know, and this is how I've been able to design wedge boxes, you know, that will fit in my truck comfortably so that I can sit comfortably. Yeah, all right. And still get a good sound, or the sound that I want, you know, the sound that I'm after. Yeah, okay, okay. So that's how you would design a cubic, that's how you would design a wedge-shaped box, you know, to be able to get it right the first time, you know. All right, all right. Well, let me get to some work here, man, and I'm going to start getting these baffles together and getting them ready so I can get everything ready to screw and glue. All right, guys, we'll come back in a few. All right, guys, this is what I'm talking about, and I'm talking about, you know, making sure that your subwoofer will clear every angle. Okay, this is my baffle, and this is the best way. This is the best way that I found to make sure you got it right. Yeah, okay. Obviously, you want to do this before you cut your wood. You know, you might take a piece of wood and lay it down, you know, and maybe pencil draw it, you know, the way that you want to cut it before you cut it, and then set the subwoofer down on it, just to make sure that it's going to clear all your angles. You know, you want to try to have some space, you know, on the edges, you know, to give it a little strength at the very least, you know. It also helps, you know, if you're cutting it really close, you can also, you know, take a piece of wood and set up against it, you know, just to make sure that, you know, you're going to have the space to clear every edge, every angle. Yeah, okay. You know what I do right here in this instance, I just take and I draw the surround, and it might not be the best way. There might be better ways. You know, I guess a man can measure it. I don't have calipers that'll reach that big. My calipers are only 8 inches, and I know the measurement of my subwoofer surround before. You know, I've done it before, but for the sake of the video, I decided to do it like this, just to give you guys a second look for those of you who may not have seen my other videos where I have done this. Yeah, I just take a pencil and I draw along the outside edge of the surround, and by doing that, it gives me the you know, the outside circumference of the subwoofer. And you know, once you've done this, you know, once you got your pencil mark in and you begin to cut it, you know, whether you use a jigsaw or whatever you're going to use to cut it with, you know, it's good to cut it just a little bigger, you know, like maybe 1/8 of an inch, just about 1/8 of an inch, just to make sure that you got plenty of room for your surround to clear, because, you know, you definitely don't want your surround to rub, you know, on the wood. Yeah, because it'll rub a hole in it and it'll definitely break. Alright, I'm going to get to cutting these out, and once we get these cut and everything ready to go, we'll come back and take a look at them. Okay. Alright, so we got that cut out. Of course, I use a jigsaw and it's not perfect. Either that or I just suck at using a jigsaw. Either way. So I like to take and use a drill, and I use a rasp bit. Yeah, it's been a minute since I used that. I use a rasp bit, and I take and just use that to smooth out the edges around that. You know, you can also use one of those if you know, if you've mistakenly cut it too small in some places or something like that, and that'll help widen it out a little bit. But that's what I do anyway. All right. Let's see if we can't get some of the rest of these cut with our router. Alright. Okay, one more thing else I want to point out, guys, before we test fit this. I don't know about any of you, but when I use a jigsaw, man, I have a real hard problem with getting my cut level, you know, as in straight up and down. Usually my blade turns in like this or like that. Yeah, so another reason why you need that, you need the rasp bit, is to go around and kind of level the wall of your cut here. Yeah, okay, all right. All right, so the hard part is over. Yeah. So we got one here. You can see got plenty of clearance all the way around. No rubbing at all. Yeah, okay. And that's going to be a good thing. Now we can take this and use it as a template with our router to get the other ones. And that'll just, you know, get them done quicker. And you know, the beautiful thing about using the router is that, you know, once you got this one good like this, when you go back and you cut it out with the router, you won't have to take the rasp bit and go back around it, you know, killing it, getting the edges, whatever, because the router's going to cut it perfect. Yeah, it's going to cut it perfect the first time. All right, that's the reason why you need to make sure that you got your first one done perfectly the first time. Yeah, okay. All right, well, let's get this in while the sun's still shining. All right, so obviously the most important part of you know, getting these baffles cut is making sure that your pieces are exactly the same, that the hole lines up perfectly. In order to get it cut perfectly, then it needs to line up perfectly. And that's one good use for a router, is that, you know, it allows you to get these shapes exactly the same, you know, which makes for a really good fit, you know, a good seal on the box when you're constructing it, when you're putting it together. Definitely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two baffles, and I'm going to get them perfect, and I'm going to glue them together, and I'm going to screw them that way you know, they can't move and they can't come apart. And then I will go back and I will cut out the circles for the baffles, and so that what I'll end up with is one solid piece, and that'll be for the inner. And I will put my threaded inserts into that, so that we'll be able to use it. I'll drill it and get the threaded inserts in it and everything, and then I'll make a third baffle to cover up the threaded inserts, so that the screw will go through the first baffle and then sink up into the second set with the threaded inserts. They're, you know, to give it a little more strength, you know, because when you got your speakers mounted horizontally, you know, it puts the strain on it, especially, you know, when they're moving. So that we want them to be really secure with no chance of, you know, the less wiggle the better. You know, so that that's the way that at least that's the way that I do it. That's the way I found that works for me. I'm sure there's other ways, you know. And hey, anytime through this video, guys, if you see something that I'm doing that you do differently, or you do another way, you know, or that you think might be a better way, you know, heck, man, hit me up, let me know, write it in the comments or something, because, you know, I'm always looking for how to better what I'm doing. You know, it's kind of like a craft, I guess. Yeah, and I want it to be as good as I can get it to be. And I know that 2 heads are always better than 1, you know, and how about 100? Yeah, all right. Let me get some of this in. I'm going to start gluing a couple of these pieces so I can get them ready to cut. All right, once you got it secure, you know, then you can go through and you can get your edges. Notice, yeah, that's perfect. No lip whatsoever. That'll be a perfect mount, without a doubt. Yeah. All right. Man, I'm telling you, the router is probably one of the most dirtiest, sawdustiest things that you can use. But yeah, man. So, you know, now we got it secure. And you know, I use a lot of screws when I do this. I take my glue and I put it on, and then I spread it with something. I got a card over here that I used. You know, I spread it with something, try to get it everywhere because I want a really good bond. If you're bonding two pieces together like this, you want a really good bond. You don't want no hollow spaces in between the two pieces of wood, because that's just, that's setting us up for vibration, especially at the upper bass frequencies. So that yeah, spread your glue really well. And and then I screw it down. I use for two pieces like that, I use 1.25 inch screws, and space them out, get it together really well. And now that we got it together and it's glued and it's screwed, and now we can come back with our router and cut out our other circle. Yeah, all right, let's get that in.